Hey everyone, welcome to the Fireside Chat number 24 on Crushing Classical, redefining a thriving classical music career. I'm Tracy Friedlander, and on the show today, Eileen and I talk about the tools she uses and has been teaching me to manage her life like a well-oiled machine. I've marveled for a long time on how she does this while I'm over here struggling to manage a day and get a couple of things done. How many of you have felt overwhelmed, like you don't have enough time to do really anything you want to do, and completely ready to give up when you think about trying to achieve your goals? We discuss actual things that hold me back in my day when all I really want is to be more productive and find more time to get to the stuff that I want to do. Today, you'll hear some strategies behind actually creating a clean slate so that you can dig into what you want and overcome those obstacles that seem to always get in the way of what you want to do. Before we begin, a couple of things. Please join the conversation at facebook.com/crushingclassical as well as Crushing Classical on Instagram. If you love our content, it would mean the world to us for you to comment and share it with your classical musician friends and colleagues. Also, remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. That way, you won't miss an episode. I'd also like to thank Fix Music for being a sponsor of Crushing Classical Podcast. Fix Music is your online resource for affordable, high-quality sheet music. Fix offers unique buying options for individuals, teachers, and schools. Whether you have a large private teaching studio or you run a music program, Fix has a solution for you. Contact them through their website for more information. Fix offers priority and priority express shipping at super affordable rates, meaning they do not pad their shipping rates to make money. If you need sheet music fast, Fix will expedite it to you as inexpensively as possible. Also remember to use the discount code CRUSH and get 10% off your order. Let's get started. Hey Eileen, how are
Good,
you?
how are you?
Great. Okay, so today we are talking about some really cool stuff because I've been, along with building Crushing Classical, I've been on this other kind of journey alongside of it, and it's not separate. It's really, I'm starting to see how not separate it is from building the podcast and the following and everything else. But um, it's, I guess you could call it life management or productivity, or I don't know, you could label it a whole bunch of different things, but it's so much more than that because it's not just being organized for the sake of being organized. Like, oh, I really want, like my husband yesterday said, you're so obsessed with having it clean. Like the house is really clean compared to everyone else's house. Our house is really clean. Why are you so obsessive
That's so
about it now?
interesting that he says that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he says that. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not comparing myself to everybody else because I don't care what they're doing. But the other thing is, there's a really great feeling coming out in the morning and seeing the dining room table totally cleared off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the week is going to start out
I
cleanly
agree.
or
Yep.
something. And I mean, it's not perfect. That's why I was complaining. I was like, well, so we have a cleaned off table, but we have these other areas, other flat surfaces in the dining room that have stuff on
Sure.
them because I haven't managed everything yet. I'm still in the process of getting all this stuff managed. And as I started doing these things, I realized I just told you a little while ago the analogy of like when Bambi in that movie starts to try walking on ice for the first time. Like, so I organized my kitchen, but then I realized that like everything else is still a mess. Or I organize,
Right.
and so and typical. So we started talking about this because Eileen is uber friggin' organized. Like your life runs like a well-oiled machine, and mine just did not.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you could talk about the polar opposite lives, okay? I mean, so I was at the time I was homeschooling my daughter
Yeah.
and working part-time and that I mean by the time at the time that we got back in touch and I had nothing organized or scheduled. I didn't even have a schedule for what we were going to work on
Mm-hmm. Yep.
educationally. I mean, I knew that we had a couple of events that we did meetup wise and stuff, but it was just fly by the seat of your pants kind of every single
Yep.
day. And
And actually, I remember, one of your complaints at the time was, and of course it was probably because of the unscheduled time that you had, Violet being home and you were homeschooling her, and I know you had certain activities at certain times, but she would end up on Netflix and you were like, this
Yeah.
sucks. I remember you saying, like you had a big problem with that she was watching too much Netflix.
Yeah, well, if a moment goes by where there's not a
Yep.
plan, it's too easy to grab the
Yep.
iPad.
Totally.
And I was thinking back to like my life pre-family, when I was just
Yeah.
single. And I was pretty um I mean, life was a little more simple. I didn't have a computer. I just wrote everything down into a date book and then somehow remembered it, which I don't imagine being able to do that
Jeez,
now. But
I
I
could never do
somehow
that. Yeah.
I did that in the early days, you know, pre-computer. I would write down gigs and then I would just remember. I would have it open to that week on my table and I would just look at what I had to do that
Mhm.
week or that day or whatever. But I never scheduled other stuff. Like I just had the things I needed to do. And then in my head, I'd think, okay, so this time now I have time to go to the store, this, that, and the other. But I didn't pre-schedule like going to the store or anything else. So I wasn't, even though I thought I was organized back then compared to what I ended up being like in my life as an adult per se, like, or just once I got married. Because once you get married or you partner up with someone, you're living with someone else, it's easy to be at the effect of how they run their
Yeah,
lives.
totally.
And especially since I didn't structure my life in any certain way. And David is way, way more just like, let's go out to dinner. Okay, let's go. Like he's walking out the door. I'd be like, whoa, wait, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like it's just drop everything
Yeah,
and go. Like that's
he
how he
gets an idea
lives.
in his head and he's like, let's go do it now. He's
Yeah. I'll be like, where
very
is he? And then I hear the
spontaneous,
violin.
right? Yep.
Yeah. I'm like, he's practicing. I didn't know. I thought we had just talked about doing this thing and he just decided he wanted to practice. So then he was practicing. Like that would be like what things were like before we had a kid. And then he kind of still does his life like
Yep.
that. And I lived with it for a really long time. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just the way that he does it. And I let myself, kind of get swept along with
Yep.
that.
And
And so
that's what will
then,
happen if you are living with other people. You have a
yeah.
choice. You either have to manage how it's going to go, or you are going to be swept into however they do things.
Right. And once we had a kid, and we were, before we had Violet, I was working basically full time. So our schedule was the same. We would leave the house together and go to work, come home and have lunch, go back to the second rehearsal. Everything we did was the same except for in between work. So it was really like, it didn't matter. But once you throw a kid in the mix, it's like, okay, we got to figure out what we're doing. I'm not working there as much anymore. You have to teach. I have to know when I can do what I want to do. So I need to know what your schedule is. So we figured out how to link up, I could subscribe to his calendar so I could see when his students were or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But that was like the limit of organizing my
Mm-hmm.
schedule. And then on top of that, certain other things weren't working. Like I think we had talked about at one time how the dog food situation wasn't working in our
Yeah, there
house.
were
And then
there was
there were just things.
conditions that didn't work at the house. Yeah.
Exactly. And what would usually happen is I would get to this breaking point where I was so frustrated with the way things were going that I would just rip off the Band-Aid and say this isn't working anymore. But so over the time of working with Eileen, working with you, you told me about what you do and I'd be like, hold the
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
What? I'd be like, wait, you don't have 20 tabs
She
open
thought I
on your
was
computer?
insane. I'm pretty sure that she thought I was insane when we first.
I did. You knew exactly when you were going grocery shopping
Yeah,
every week. I was like, I
still
don't
do.
know. I just shop when there's no food left in the
Yeah,
fridge.
and see that, and so this is what's interesting is one of the things that it took me a really long time to, for Tracy to see this, that
Hmm.
when you get yourself to a place where, when you decide that there's something you want in your life, like, so Tracy added, she's, married, she has a child, and then now she wants to add crushing classical to her life. And
Hmm.
people do this all the time. You want to do this too. You, the audience, you want to, I don't know, start an ensemble, or you want to start a new venture of some kind, or you want
Hmm.
to whatever. There's any number of things that you want to do. You want to create a unique career, whatever it is. Well, your life as it is today will prevent you, the conditions of your life will prevent you from being successful at that if you don't
Yeah.
get it managed. And this was my communication to Tracy early on. I didn't say it exactly that way, but I just would drop little hints here and there. And now here we are over a year later doing this work together, and she's just now getting on board with, oh, I see why this matters now.
Yeah.
Right? Is that
I resisted it. I resisted, especially the food prep thing. I was like, oh, that's just another thing I have to do. Can't we just all go in the fridge and get something to eat when we're hungry?
except and the answer to that is yes, except that wasn't happening.
Exactly.
That's the issue.
It wasn't.
Is and this is not a tear on men thing, but there's something that happens with guys where, if you live with them, married to them, whatever, there's a, how do I say this? There's a, expecting you to handle certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And you know what's weird though? I'll tell you
and
something.
women
Since
do the
I've
same
been,
thing with guys, by the way, like the handyman crap. They expect, you know what I'm
yeah, yeah,
saying? So
yeah.
there are
Yeah.
certain societal roles that go a lot. I'm just saying. And so part of, being a woman, I think, is the whole making sure there's food in the fridge deal. Whether we like it or not, that's just part of it. And I've always felt that was my role anyway. But
Yeah. And the thing is, we both go to the grocery store and
yeah,
he knows how we eat, so he's really good at shopping, and if it's on the list, he'll get it, which is great. So he can do some
that's
shopping.
great.
And actually last night we had plenty of things and ideas of things to eat in the fridge. So he actually whipped up dinner last night and it was really good. So it's funny how like he was more inspired to do something when there's like food that's partially prepared in
Yes.
there or
Yeah. And
whatever,
so did
you
he
know?
use some of the partially prepared food to do it? To make what he made?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like, the problem, you would think to yourself, why are Eileen and Tracy talking about food prep? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I don't know if you realize this is something I had to really confront for myself. I, unfortunately, I have the kind of body that if I don't take care of it, I can't get anything productive done. So if I eat crap, I feel like crap, and then I have to take naps, and then I'm not productive in life. That's just the way it is. There are some people who can eat like complete crap, and they can be productive in life. I am not one of them. I think part of understanding, why does food matter? Why does nutrition matter? Look, I don't care what diet you're on. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that you need to get that food is fueling you to do whatever you want to do in your day. And if you don't have that
Mhm.
managed, your life, whatever the thing is you want to accomplish is going to fall apart because you don't
Yeah.
have that managed. And Tracy finally figured this out.
Yeah, so it started with the food thing. I tried several times to do it and then I fell off the wagon, but then it was a finally like again a straw that broke the camel's back situation where I was like, this has to be handled for me and everyone in the
I think
house.
it's because I think where the first breakdown was, I mean, if I remember correctly, was you got tired of being nagged about food.
Yeah, what's for dinner? I don't see anything in here to eat.
Right. Right.
Um, yeah.
Yep.
And the first time I did food prep, I cooked up a storm and then I realized I threw away a lot of stuff because I didn't need, and then you were like, you don't have to make all those things. Like you can make ingredients half
Yeah.
done. Like you can cook chicken all the way through and have it in there for reheating
That's
or
exactly,
making a
yeah, and
chicken
that's what I
salad.
do. I mean, I make,
Yeah.
a
So now,
glass thing of chicken breasts and then I put them in the fridge and I just go grab it during the week what I want.
yeah, this week I made a quinoa salad and some sweet potatoes and um the chicken
Yeah.
and hard boiled eggs. So it's just like it wasn't like I was friggin' Julia Childs. I was
Yeah.
just making some stuff, but you don't have
If you
to. If
pre-cook,
you want to have egg salad, if there's already hard-boiled eggs in there, that's a good
right,
thing.
or they can
So
make a salad, just a regular salad, and they can chop hard-boiled eggs into it. Like, so they
exactly.
can
So
make it
it's
egg
there's
salad, or they can,
choice.
yeah, I mean, they can do what they want to do with the cooked ingredients. I think where people get, and this is about food prep, but we're going to talk about other things too. Food is one piece, though, of life management. What we're talking about here
Hmm.
is life management. If you don't get your life managed, it will derail whatever effort it is you are trying to, whatever thing it is you're trying to accomplish will get derailed by your life not being managed. And food is one aspect of your life.
Food is one aspect. So another aspect, and this is the one I'm just tackling now, um, is my schedule and my computer. And the schedule has been a real challenge for me because what I'll do is say up until now I would say this is my block of time to work on crushing classical stuff
Hmm.
from 9 till 4
Right,
or 10 till 9:30 to 4 or
right.
whatever. Um, and when I do that, I don't take breaks. I don't remember to eat lunch.
Hmm.
I don't know what to do. So I just start doing stuff and then I'll get distracted and then I'll start emailing people or I'll be doing something and then I'll get an email notification and be like, oh, switch to that. And then, oh, someone commented on my comment on Facebook, on the Facebook page. I want to get to that and I want to do that right now. And just too scattered.
Hmm. It's very easy to be scattered during the day, especially if you work from home or work for yourself.
Yeah. So I just started working on my Google Calendar intensively with you. Well, first we started with my browser and then we started with the calendar. So we could talk about either one of those
Yeah, you
first.
can
I'm
pick the one
still
you want to talk about first. I'm totally open to it.
okay, let's start with the browser because my problem is that I open like 20 tabs and I don't want to close them because I want to remember that I want to come back to that thing. So I'll leave like Facebook open, my Gmail open. Well, let me look at what's on my browser right now. I have Facebook, Gmail, Google Docs, um,
Hmm.
Zencast, or not, no,
Hmm.
Libsyn, the hosting site, um, multiple multiple docs, and then my calendar. Oh, and I want to buy a new ceiling light. Our ceiling light in our bathroom broke and it like won't work.
Oh,
So I have a tab open on Home Depot, which is stupid because I don't need to leave that open. I can just go to Home Depot and buy one.
you could,
But
but
it's still
okay,
open.
good. So let's talk about this. So, somebody on, one of our comments a couple weeks ago said, does Eileen have any suggestions for productivity or something like that? So the answer is yes, I have 10 million. And, so I'm going to give you some right here. So the reason
Okay.
why, so a lot of people leave, things on their desktop, but they also leave. So let's talk about browser tabs because that's what you're talking about right now. By the way,
Yeah, I mean, browser tabs is one example. I have friggin' so many things open right now. I have my messages open. I have Evernote open. I have Chrome and Safari open.
okay. So you have a lot. You
I
have a lot open.
have,
I have one browser
yeah.
open. It's Firefox, and I have two tabs open. One is to Southwest Airlines because I have to check in on my flight, or I have to check in for my flight, and then another one is Dropbox because I was listening back to a podcast,
Right. So that's
and I was
amazing.
doing that literally before you and I got on this call.
So that's the only reason why you
That's
have
the
those two
only
tabs
reason I
open.
have
And
those two things open. Otherwise, I have nothing else open on my desktop at all.
I should say this is not only is there the browser, but there's also the email, which you taught me how to organize email last December because I remember I
Oh
was
yeah,
on a trip when I did it.
that's right. That's right.
So there's that. We can talk about all that
Yeah, we
right
can
now.
talk
So
about all
let's
that.
talk about the browser
So the
first
first thing is,
because we're
so just think of it this way. When you have all those browser tabs open,
mm-hmm,
that is the state of your mind. That is a confused mind,
mm-hmm,
just so you know. And the reason
yeah,
why have all those tabs open, we'll use you as an example since the reason why you have those tabs open is because there's some open loop that you need to close.
yeah. What do you mean by open loop?
So, for example, that light that went out in your bathroom, the bulb.
Right.
Okay.
Didn't fix it yet.
Right. You
Uh-huh.
don't have to fix it, but here's the thing. Instead of leaving the browser tab open, schedule time on your schedule. For, like if you want to do that today, then go on your schedule and schedule the time that you're going to handle that
Right.
and close that browser tab.
Right. Okay.
That's how you close a loop. You schedule it. You
Okay.
either do it and finish it or you schedule it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. That makes
Or
sense.
you delegate it. So if you have somebody who helps them, I realize you don't have this, but some people have people help them with their homes. Like maybe you've got a handyman, for example. Maybe you're someone who has a
Right.
handyman. Like in my case, I live in an apartment. If something is not working in my apartment, I can call maintenance. I can contact maintenance or put in a work order, right? So
Uh-huh.
that would be how I would handle this,
Right.
right? It's the same thing here.
I put in a work order with David.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what you want to realize is that the reason why you have a browser tab open. So like, let's say that you run across something that you want to read, which I know you do regularly.
Yes.
So how do you close that loop? I'll tell you how. What I have scheduled every week is I've got reading time. I have it like, I'll call it, I call it enjoyable reading time, like stuff that it's not for work. It's for pleasure. So I read about health and fitness and, topics that I really enjoy, I'll read. But that time is scheduled on Saturday for me. And it's usually a couple of hours. Like I've got it, it's on my schedule every week. It's a recurring appointment on my schedule. So what I do is I'll take that browser tab and I'll put it, there's a folder that I have, in my bookmarks. It's actually on my bookmarks bar called Read, READ, Read. And I file it
Okay.
in that folder. So when I find something I want to
Okay.
read, I put it in my read file. And so on Saturday at whatever time I have scheduled, I go to my read file and I open it and I read everything that's in that file. And I've been filing stuff in it all week. All week. And on Saturday is when I catch up on all my reading. And as I complete, as I read all the stuff that's in that electronic folder, I either delete it or I file it somewhere else. Like if I want to keep it, I've got other files, like I'll file it in some other file that I have, some electronic file. But if I'm done reading it and I don't want to keep it, I just delete it. I delete that tab.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
That's how I control, because we all have things we want to read, but you're not necessarily going to read it right now. It's not the time to read it right now. So you have to figure out, your schedule is where you put things that you need to close the loop. Once you've scheduled something, that loop is closed and you can close that browser tab. Right? So like for you had another one, you were working on questions for somebody you're interviewing. Right?
Yes.
So here's the thing though, you're going to be talking to that person later today. You're going to have a call with them, right? So you can close that tab until you speak to that person at the scheduled time you have today. You don't need to leave that tab open. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Your whole thing about leaving tabs open, this is for everybody. It's because you are refusing to make a decision about it. And every time you leave tabs open like that, you're occupying space in your brain that you could actually be working on something productive. So all of those open tabs, it's all occupied space in your brain. All because you haven't closed the loop.
Wow.
That's what's going on, for real. And seriously, it does, you think it doesn't impact your life, but it actually does. Because every time you look at that browser, I mean, admit it, how do you feel when you look at all those browser tabs open?
Oh, it totally overwhelms me every time I open the computer, and it takes me off track. Like there was a time where I was in the kitchen and I'm like, okay, I have to reorder something. Like I have to put it in my Amazon cart and order it right now. I'm out. Well, this is another thing. I shouldn't get to that point where something's out, right?
That's the goal.
But
that's the goal, yeah.
Right. And I'm handling that too. That's another area which we could talk about later. But in this case, I'd forgotten to do it. So I went back and I opened the computer to do it, but it was open to something, Facebook or something. and I looked at something and completely forgot why I opened my computer, did something else, closed it, and went back in the kitchen. I was like, oh my God,
Yep.
I didn't even do the thing I was supposed to do. So it takes me off track all the
Yep.
time.
It will always take you off track every time. The open browser
Yeah.
tabs. And so that's the first thing I recommend handling is you have to create a system for yourself where you don't have open browser tabs. There's just no reason to have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really a human being's refusal to close a loop.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And if you have all those open loops, you're really truly you're going to get derailed from anything important you want to do in the day.
That makes
You know?
sense.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So just remember that about browser tabs. And that's what a schedule's for. That's what and by the way, like, the light bulb thing, I don't care if you do it today, but schedule it at some point. Like maybe you're like, I don't want to do it today. Okay, well then do it on Wednesday, but schedule it,
Right. That makes sense.
Um, and maybe you're going to send David to Home Depot to get a light bulb, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, it's a whole light fixture. That's why I had the Home Depot site on because I was picking a new thing. Like the whole thing is broken,
Oh, I see. Okay.
you
Yeah,
know? Like the light bulb burned out and then we changed the light bulb and it immediately burned out. Like something's going on with the whole light. So we have to change
I
that. So
see.
it's like,
Okay. Okay, yeah.
yeah,
And so, it depends on what the priority is. Like how big of a priority is
right.
that, right?
Right. There's another light in there. So it's not like it has to get done like right now where we can't have a light in the
Right.
bathroom. There's
So
still
then
another.
that's okay. But
So
then pick a time
yeah.
in the week when you're going to handle that.
Right, exactly, and put it
And
in there. There's actually another thing I haven't handled yet that I need to do at Home Depot, so I can put that in the same
exactly.
category.
Exactly.
So there's that. And then yeah, and then this goes along with the calendar thing because like you're saying schedule it. So what I used to do is just add stuff to my calendar willy-nilly in the same always in the same category.
Okay.
And I was using a calendar separate from the Gmail that I use now because I had another Gmail that I was using for like, a decade and I didn't organize it at all. So it was just like 3,000, 10,000 emails or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And associated with that was the calendar I was using. So then that was all tied into the calendar and the email
Yeah, and using
organization.
Google,
So
of course. And so one
yeah,
thing I told Tracy was start a new, and this is for anyone who's got, I know that a bunch of you are listening right now. You have 10,000, 20,000 emails in your inbox, and that's just so you know, that's just stupid. Okay? It's just stupid.
yeah,
There's no reason an inbox should have any more than what you need to handle in it. So I have a rule. I have rules about this. I have all kinds of rules that I live by, but it's so that I can be productive. So, I told Tracy to start a new email address, which she did. And so,
yeah,
in other words, start fresh. She still has
yeah. Inbox zero.
inbox zero. She still has the other email address. She still has, that email with, 10,000 emails in it. Let's say we don't really know how many are in there, but so there's
Yeah,
still, emails over there. But I'm telling you this because either you have to, one of two things has to happen. Either you have to delete every single email that's in there because you don't need it. If you have 10,000 emails in there, you don't know what's in there anyway. You have no idea. And you might as well
right.
just delete the whole thing. So that's your option is delete all the emails that are in there or start a new email address. She did not want to delete all of the emails that were in there, so she started a new email address.
Yeah, the problem was I'd used that email to sign up for all those things, like every time you go to a website and you put your email in, every single time I used it. So it was full of notifications and updates and coupon codes and all kinds of crap like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, and so maybe you want to keep those.
So, and I keep that so I can use that email to put in on websites that I don't really care. It's like a throwaway email
Okay, yeah,
address.
so it's become a throwaway. That makes sense. So now though,
Hmm.
what I taught Tracy and I'll tell you is that you should have no more than 25 emails in your inbox. So, what does that mean? That means whenever an email comes in, you need to make a decision. This is the same thing, with your browser tabs. It's my behavior is very consistent. Um, if you get an email that comes in, you have to make a decision about it. So either you're going to delete it, you're going to do something about it, or you're going to file it.
Mm-hmm.
So really that's what I do. My inbox is actually a to-do list. So if there are emails in my inbox, which there are right now, I don't have it open right now, but if there are emails in my inbox, then that means there's something I need to do with them. There's something
Right.
like I haven't acted on them yet. So my inbox is actually a to-do list. It's actually,
Yeah.
it's one of my to-do lists, I would say. I have another to-do list in Evernote, but I'm just saying my inbox is in fact a to-do list. If there's anything in there, that means there's some action I still need to take on that thing.
Yeah. So I started doing this when you told this to me, and I created all the files
Right. She
on
created
the
some files
side.
on the left-hand side, and I told her how to do that.
Yeah.
There is a way to do filing on the left. And by the way, your files should be very high level because Gmail is a searchable tool. So the categories should be very broad, very big, because Gmail is Gmail is famous for search. That's what it is. So your email is searchable, the browser is searchable, everything is searchable. So you want to use that feature in Gmail. A lot of people will, they'll have, oh, this is my emails for this is my, file for my coupons that I get, and this is my file for my friends' emails, and this is my file. No, 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 no. You want big, broad categories, because if you want to find something, you can just use the search feature. So
Mm-hmm.
remember that's what Google is famous for, search. That's what, nobody realizes that's what made Google famous, was search.
Yeah. Or they forget. Like, Google is, but you forget that your Gmail is just as
It's
handy
just,
for
yeah,
that.
it's a search tool. Gmail is very much a
Yeah.
search tool. And so, so that's when something comes in, you either delete it, you leave it in there, or you do something with it. And in that case, it would stay in your inbox until you do something with it, or you file it. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
choices. That's it.
Yeah. So that's what I do now. So that I think my Gmail is pretty handled, but I'm still working out categorizing my calendar. So the next step for me was figuring out what I wanted to do every day
Well, and yeah,
specifically.
and there is, and one thing I'll point out that we just dealt with last week was, Tracy. I didn't know this until she told me. Tracy was using her calendar on her phone, so she wasn't
Yeah.
using her desktop at all.
Right.
Um, I'm not gonna say that's a bad idea, but what I'm gonna say is I like using a desktop for a calendar because I get a macro view of what's happening. You can change your view. We use Google Calendar, so you can change it from month to month view to week view to day view, right? You can change the different views. But what I like about looking at a calendar on a desktop or a laptop, I actually have a laptop, I just mean not on your phone, is
Uh-huh.
I can see a big picture of what the month looks like for me or what the week looks like for me. And that visual is really helpful in scheduling. And
Yeah.
are you finding that to be true? Because we just started this last week, this whole looking at it on a computer instead of your phone.
Yeah. I am finding it helpful. And of course I have it synced up with my app on my
Sure,
phone.
I do too.
And so I can look at it either way. But the thing is, I was on my phone, I was looking at the month view, and you can change it to a week view and a day
Yeah.
view. And I just did that while we were talking to see what it looks like as a day view. And it's cool. I think that's what I could do for when if I've got something else open, I can open up my calendar on my phone and see what I've got coming up,
Yeah, that's what I
you
do.
know,
Yeah, I mean, I really use my phone
yeah,
to it
just to look at.
to throw alarms at me when I've got something coming up. And I
Yeah.
don't happen to be on my laptop at the time. It's great to have the alarms, but I mean, I know, and you might be thinking to yourself listening to this, well, Eileen, this is really stupid, Eileen. Who doesn't know this? Well, you'd be surprised how many people actually don't effectively use tools that are available.
Because the color coding is huge. And I wasn't doing color coding.
Yeah,
My only color coding.
So talk about that because I've always used color coding. So I'm interested in your point of view on that because I know you just started. I mean, I think like this weekend you just started it.
Yeah, well, I like the pretty colors, obviously, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's more pleasant to look at, but I mean,
it's pretty.
From a functional standpoint, though, what has it done for you? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, now I can glance at it and see, especially when I have a call or a recording, I decided I wanted it to be in red
Mm-hmm.
so that it really stands out. Because it's like it's that fear that I have about being late or being or forgetting a rehearsal. It's the same feeling. So I'm like, I just want to know that I have these things.
Do you set alarms
to do? Yeah. I set so many alarms. With calls, I set it with calls, I don't do an hour before because that's too long, but I'll do like 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and right before. Like, I mean, I know that sounds really stupid, but there's been times where I've been like making breakfast or actually, you know what? I don't think it's going to be as much of a problem now that I'm handling the rest of my day,
well, I think
to be honest.
Honestly, I think the reason why you have to do that right now maybe is starting out is because I think you just get distracted.
Yeah, that's what it was. And so I get so distracted.
I think you get more distracted than I do, so I don't have that same fear at all. I just think I maybe have less distractions. Right. Everyone's different, you know? You have to do what you have to do for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it might change over time, but right now, and we were talking about that last night. Like you were like, I don't know, maybe you can just lump everything that you do with the podcast in one color. And I'm like, but I really need for calls and interviews, I want like something really obvious.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then for work, I put it in a different color. Like just work that I'm going to do on the computer, I put it in green.
Yeah.
And then like, let's see what else.
Well, and I'll say this,
So I'm doing colors.
Yeah, so people who are listening, what she's doing is she's creating in Google Calendar, in case you're not familiar with it, she's creating separate calendars. So she's got when you create different calendars inside Google Calendar, you can name them and you can make them a certain color. So that when the event, whatever the event is, you can color code it. So you can decide what the color is based on the calendar you're choosing. So, let's say that you schedule naps during the day. I'll just use that as an example. You'll create a calendar called naps and maybe you make it yellow. And so every time you schedule a nap into your calendar, you're going to put it in the nap calendar. So now that event is yellow. And so now you know that's, and you just know that napping is yellow. So you decide what those colors are, but why this matters, I think, why I like colors so much is because I can look at a week and I can see when I'm doing too much or too little of something. So I have a calendar for what I'm going to call money making work. There's a calendar and it's actually green. It's green. And so I can tell in my week or my day, I can tell if my day is off, if I'm not doing money-making work, if I don't see enough green in my calendar on a day, there's a problem that I have to solve. Like I can visually see there's a problem I have to solve. If there is no green on that day scheduled, I have a problem. Right. For real. And that's how it occurs for me. That's why the colors are so valuable, because I can see visually. Sometimes I look at my day, I wouldn't necessarily, if I wasn't using colors, I wouldn't necessarily see that I'm not doing money-making work. But because it's green, because I've designated a calendar called money-making work, which is green, if I don't see green in my day, there's a problem. And so it's almost like you have to create structures for yourself to trigger yourself to, if there's, something you're going for, there's some goal you have, or, if you're trying to create a business, or, maybe you're trying to win auditions. Let's say that you create a calendar for practicing music for auditions. Let's say you're going to take auditions. Mm-hmm. If that calendar is blue, and you look at your week and you don't see enough blue in your week, then you know there's something you have to ask yourself about your priorities if there's not enough blue on your
Right. You
calendar.
could see that, like, say your teaching and gigs are purple
Yes.
and you filled it up and you've got other things going on and you're trying to fit in the blue so that you can win that audition and you go, okay, but there's not enough time in the week
Right.
to fit
Like,
the
oh my
blue
gosh,
in,
look at all this purple. My 70% of my calendar is purple and, 10% of it is blue. What do I really care about more? Because my
Right.
calendar says I care more about gigs, but I'm saying I care more about winning this audition. But clearly my calendar is not showing that that's what I really care about.
Right.
It's very elementary. If it's actually kind of, this is like something a third grader could do. But you would not believe,
Right.
really, but you would not believe how many people don't think of it this way.
Well, I did, and I didn't, I just put everything, I would put everything in using my phone. So I wouldn't select a different calendar when I was doing that. I would just put the event in
Mm-hmm.
on the calendar that I shared with David so that we always know what each other is doing
Mm-hmm.
generally. Like he knows that that I have a fireside chat today.
Right.
So he can see that. Well, actually, I just changed it so he doesn't. I suppose I could share, but now I can share with him when I'm recording, so he knows when I'm recording. But he doesn't have to know when I'm checking my
Right.
email, or
Right.
whatever. So it's a little bit more specific.
Right.
Um, and the other thing I was going to bring up is working out. That's something that I will resist and not do if it's not in the
Yep.
books. It's something that I would like to get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go work out now. I can't wait. Like, I'm not there yet,
And you may never get
but
there.
I may never get there,
And
you
that's
know?
okay. It's not, your
Right.
priorities are not the same as other people's priorities. It's not a requirement for you to care about that. It's just, do you care about that? And if you do, what are you going to do about it?
I know that I feel better when I exercise. I know it's important for my health and I need to do it. And it's just, but if I don't actively make it something that's going in the
Yep.
books, then it's not going
If
to
it's not
happen.
on the
So,
calendar, if it's not scheduled, it's not going to happen. That's the rule.
so I went for like, I worked out and then it like 7 days went by again. And I get in this rut where I work out and then a week goes by and then I work out again. And I didn't want to do that. So then I was like, damn it. I'm going to a class on
Yeah.
Friday at 10 o'clock or whatever. And so all I did was look at the YMCA class list and I saw the classes I wanted to go to and I put it in my
Yeah.
calendar. And so I chose that as orange. And so for the upcoming week, I have it in. I looked at the weekly class schedule and I picked the ones. And it's funny because I'm still reacting to residual not thinking about things when I made appointments or whatever. Like now I keep appointments on Fridays.
Yep.
But I didn't know that there was a class I like on Fridays at 11 until last Friday.
Right.
So this coming Friday I can't do that class because I have an eye appointment that day.
Okay.
But I'm going to make sure now
Yep.
that cuz I really liked that class.
Good.
Then I'm going to make sure that it's always at Fridays at 11 so I won't schedule
Yeah, and you can set it as a
other
recurring
things.
appointment. You can set it as a weekly
Yeah, so that's
appointment at
kind of
11
cool.
or whatever. Yeah.
So then when someone says, "Hey, when can you come in for your eye appointment?" when you call them on the phone, you have a good idea of, I really need to do that appointment Friday between 12:30 and 3
Right.
or whatever. Then cuz you know that you're getting the stuff that you want to do in first. I don't want to go to the eye doctor, but I'm all out of contacts, so I have
Right.
to. And that's another thing. Like I procrastinated going to the eye doctor cuz I hate doing it. I hate it. I hate it. But now I'm out of contacts, so I have to wear my glasses until I go there, So it's just like these kind of things, like we've been talking about, like procrastinating, not getting shit done when I'm supposed
Yep.
to, waiting till I'm all out of my important supplements before I reorder them, things like that. And as I get these things handled, I'm going to show up to the gym when I'm supposed to. I'm going to already have contacts before I run out. I'm going to make sure that and supplements are important to me. I'm impacting my health in a huge way by taking supplements, but and I know this, like I preach it, but even I got lazy with it because I didn't want to keep, it's a pain in the ass because you have to go to the cabinet, open each bottle,
Yeah, so I gave
and
her
if
a
I'm in a
system.
hurry, so shared her system with me.
I
Hey,
actually have
order
a
these
system for
glass bowls.
supplements. And like I have a system for damn near everything that's important to me.
Yeah. And once I got the system going for the supplements, and listen, I resisted it. I was like, ah, fuck, I have to order some fucking glass
Yeah,
bowls on
yeah,
Amazon
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I don't feel like it. Oh, they're $18. That's not what I want to order right now. I just don't feel like it.
Right,
Like, not that $18 is a problem. Not that ordering Amazon. It's just, I don't know. I just
right.
resisted for a couple of days before I did it. Like, things are okay. I can get better at it. And then finally I was like, let me just try this. What's wrong with
Well, and
trying it?
here's what's different about you and I is I am fully willing to admit that I am not going to do it. I knew when I first started taking supplements, and again, I'm the same as you. I do it for health, and I actually have some health issues, and so taking supplements it's really a requirement. And so,
Yeah.
but I knew that for the number of supplements I have to take, there was no way that I was going to stay consistent about it if I didn't create some kind of a structure for it. I knew. And that's the difference between you and me is I don't tell myself that I'm going to get it handled. I know I won't. I know I won't. Like, I'm brutally honest about how easily lazy I can get about certain things.
Well, that's good.
I'm
And
brutal
I
about it.
think
I'm brutal with myself
this is
about it.
something about me that you probably can see in other areas. Like if if there's something I know, if there's something I see or I'm shown that I'm doing about a certain
Hmm.
thing, I don't want to look at it. I don't. I want to stick my head in the sand about it.
Okay.
And that could be a whole other episode.
It totally could. No, but I get it. I get it. And I think that, yeah, I think maybe that's a big difference between you and I is I don't stick my head in the sand. I just know that I won't. I'm very
Right.
honest with myself about what I'll do and what I won't do.
And so with the supplement system, what I noticed was last time I went out of town a couple weeks ago, it was so much easier to go out of town because I also, in a previous time that we discussed systems, when I was traveling a lot last summer, you were like, hey, go to the Container Store and make your life easier by buying, these travel bags and
Yeah,
these
like a travel bag and
travel supplement
travel.
bags.
So that's another system I have, by the way. I have a whole system for travel as well. I mean, really, I have
Yeah,
systems for everything. There's really nothing I don't have a system for. I even have a system for my
right.
freaking fridge and in my freezer. No joke.
Okay, look, and I don't know that system yet, so we're gonna have to
Okay, we'll
talk
talk
about
about
it
that sometime.
at some
Yeah, no,
point
I have a whole
because
thing.
David and I are like, let's buy a new fridge. This one sucks, and I'm sure we could probably make this one work if we just would organize it better, but we don't.
Oh yeah,
And I don't
I
want
could
to,
totally help you.
fridges
I
are
could
expensive.
completely help you with
Yeah.
fridge organization and freezer. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll
We'll do
talk about
that.
that.
So this is why I'm talking about Bambi on ice because I'm everywhere I look needs a system that isn't in place. And so when I go, oh, I still haven't handled my daughter's art and she's been in art camp. And so every week she brings home a new pile of art and a lot of it is beautiful and I want to keep it. But how do I do that without making my house totally cluttered?
Oh,
And then like
that
every day we get
yeah, I
mail.
found something. I think I told you I found something for you for her room.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it
Okay,
yet.
so
Yeah.
if you just make a note to send me an email about that, and
Make
I'll
a note.
send you. I actually saved a link for you for that, and I just forgot to
Okay,
send
I'm
it to
making
you.
a note
Yeah,
right
I
now.
just forgot to send it to you. Okay,
Okay.
for her art. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to because I
art
want to help you
organization.
organize that art, and I found something really cool online for that.
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks ago, I told Eileen that I needed to handle my daughter's room because it was a mess. I mean, she's a kid, so she finds something, it's special, she wants to keep it forever. Like if it's a rock that she
Yeah,
found on
she's
the
a
ground,
keeper.
or she's a keeper. She finds special
She's like
things
a
and
little
everything's
mini
special.
hoarder.
Yeah. So, a few months goes by and we're like, okay, we have to take apart this room again. And I realized that there was a dresser in there that got put in there because of the construction and I ended up getting rid of it completely. It wasn't very organizable. So, and I realized I had a dresser in my room that I was only using for junk.
Hmm.
Like I never opened those drawers. There was just,
And then
I
she
had
went to clean it out one weekend, and there was like no clothes in there.
no, there were no, because my clothes were we have these like bureaus, kind of
Yeah,
closets. So that's where the clothes are organized. And in the drawers of the dresser, like the only reason I got a dresser was because there was room there
yeah,
for a
there was room
dresser.
on the
Like
wall. Yeah, I
honestly.
know a lot of people do
Yeah.
that. I know, I've done the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I ended up just filling it up with stuff that I could have made a decision about,
Yep.
like clothes that don't fit Violet
Yep.
yet, or clothes that don't fit her anymore that I need to get rid of, throw them there. or
Yeah.
sheets. Like
By the
there's
way,
a
everyone
better
listening
place
right
to go
now,
sheets.
a junk drawer is simply things you haven't made decisions about. There's no reason.
Yeah.
There's actually no reason to have a junk drawer. It's all items that you have not made a decision about. That's
Right.
all it is.
So I cleaned the whole thing out, got rid of the old dresser and put it in Violet's room. It's so much better. It's so much more organized. It fits the space better. And the next thing that we need to do is make the art table so that she can do art in her room instead of on the table. So there's like as I create systems, I find that there's a new system that needs to be
Yeah.
created. So that's why it's still like building on solid, not solid ground
It takes
yet.
a
Like,
while to get systems in
yeah, I'm
place.
laying the framework.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. And part of that, you have to be really patient as you are getting your life managed. You have to
Yeah.
be really patient because the Bambi on ice thing you're talking about is very real.
Yeah.
You have to just, um, it's just a matter of working through it. You don't, a lot of people will do this thing where they're like, I'm going to take a week and do this, No, you're not.
Well,
First of all,
you made fun of the Marie
I
Kondo with
absolutely made fun of
Marie.
Marie Kondo. She's a great human, but she's wrong about some things. And one of the,
I loved her book. I was obsessed with it because she sells this, do this all at once and never do it
she's
again.
so
And I don't
wrong.
think,
She's so wrong
yeah,
about that because I'm going to tell you all the systems that I have today make it possible for my life to run. There's just no way my life would, and I'm single for heaven's sakes. I have a cat. I'm single and my life wouldn't run properly. Or,
well, I
think about
think,
that.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's,
And I think Marie Kondo, however you say her name, she's Japanese, but she's clearly a super detailed
oh yeah.
oriented, organized, uber organized personality. So for her to tell the general public that all they have to do is clean and just declutter one time and then never do it
She's
again,
incorrect.
that's leaving a massive amount of issues on the table
She's
there.
incorrect. It just doesn't work that way. There's
Yeah.
always maintenance involved in, because I mean, a good example is your browser window. I mean, why do you keep having browser tabs open? I'll tell you why. Because you come across things on Facebook or email or whatever that you want to read. That is a
Yeah.
constant. I have a file full of stuff to read every single week. I never that. So you have to have a system for that. That's not something that's going to stay clean forever. That's never going to stay clean
Hmm.
forever. Dishes in the sink, that doesn't stay clean forever. Book, art, your daughter's bringing home art every week. That's not going to
Yeah.
stay, everything is always flowing. There's always movement. There's always forward motion. So for her to say that you have to
Yeah.
do it one time, that's insane. That's ridiculous. What you need
Yeah.
is a system that you can keep up with it after you've got it basically organized.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what I had to do when I did her system, because I read the book and loved it and I did it. And to be honest, once I adopted some of her concepts, like I think the concept that I like the best of hers is only keep in your home what brings you joy. And I really did that with clothes. So like I'll go through and be like, hey, I've had this and I never wore it. I bought
I do
it. It
that
was on
too.
sale. I don't really like it.
Hmm.
Ditch it. She helps you process that. I feel guilty because I spent money on it, so let me just keep it a little longer and see if I wear it, kind of
Hmm.
thing. She's like, what you should thank that item for teaching you that that's not the style that you like, and it served its purpose for
Hmm.
you, so it taught you something, and now let it go, and it'll bring someone else joy, and that's the end of
I
it.
think that's a great
And
context for it.
yeah, I do
I think
too.
that's a great
And so
context. Yeah.
right. So there are some things in the book that were good takeaways as far as that's concerned. And I can say that even after 2 years after doing that on my dresser, it's way easier to clean now because I haven't accumulated a whole bunch of stuff just because it was on sale or whatever.
Hmm.
Because that can be easy. Like you go to a store and, oh, it's only $10, so let's get it. Even if it's not, you know, just because it's $10 is not a good reason to buy a shirt.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So there's like kind of a new way of thinking that I got from her book, but it wasn't holistic enough. Like it didn't take it all the way to the daily decision making process, which is that there's so many decisions to make every day on an
That's
email,
right.
on a website that you come across. Someone sends you a link, someone sends you a text, you're constantly being bombarded with things all
And you have to
day.
decide on.
Yeah, virtually and with people, you
Yeah,
know? I
the
think
whole
that's why
day is
people
full
don't
of
want to talk.
decisions. The whole day is full of decisions. Yes.
Yeah, and maybe that's why people don't like to talk on the phone as much anymore because they feel like when someone calls you, it's just like, oh, I have to decide right now to talk to that. I can't decide right now. Call me later or text me and ask me if it's okay to talk,
I do
like,
think there is a decision overload thing that plays into that. That's probably true.
yeah,
That's probably true.
yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that we're inundated with too many decisions every day. And that's why I try, my whole day is about eliminating decisions, closing loops, um,
Yeah.
deciding and closing the loop. For me,
And I have to say that I think these systems, I told you earlier that I really think that once I get more of them into a habitual state where this is just normal for me
mhm,
that I do this, I'm going to feel so much better about the work I'm doing because I realized, and we talked about this on a previous fireside chat, the concept of being done.
mhm,
And I'm realizing how there's no such thing as being done. So I would get really overwhelmed by, oh, I can't finish everything I need to do before I go to bed. But you can further something. You can, like you
yes.
said, close the loop. You can put that thing into a schedule later. You can put that into a file to read when you're going to read
Right. And
it. You
that
can,
actually, on some level, makes it done.
yeah,
Knowing that
for
it's
now.
going to be done in the future, that you've scheduled in your calendar, creates a done feeling or
Yes.
a closed
Yes.
loop. I call it a closed loop because I don't ever think of anything as being done. I think of closing loops, making decisions as closing a loop. You know, that's how I
Hmm.
think. I just want all the loops, as many loops as I can close in a day is what I'm going to do.
Right.
And that's
So,
what how you're going to stay. Um, I mean, that's how you can stay on task.
and that's my main objective and desire is to stay on task so I can feel like I actually do complete a sense of accomplishment about
Yeah,
things.
absolutely, absolutely.
And there's still a lot of things left. Like my desk isn't handled. My files are not handled yet. That's something I'm going to probably ask for your help on because I keep things. I have two problems with my files. I keep too many things. I
Is
don't know
this paper
and
files or online? Okay.
paper. Yeah, because I get something in the mail. I don't know if I'm supposed to keep it sometimes. And then so I throw it into a file and then I don't. Let's take, for example, pay stubs, and I know there's rules. Like you get the pay stub, you keep it for a year. Once you file your taxes, can you shred those or do you keep it for another year?
You're
Or
supposed to
like,
keep
I don't know.
you're supposed to keep all tax related stuff for 7 years. They can audit you back for 7 years.
Okay.
So what I do is I don't have pay stubs obviously because I'm self-employed,
Okay.
but I do have receipts. You know, I do have tax documents, and so what I do is once I'm done, like in 2000, like I filed my 2016 taxes. Everything once that was complete, it went into a folder called 2016 taxes, and that
Yeah.
folder is now in a drawer that if I ever need to reference it, and I will keep that folder for 7 years.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this is something you can Google online and I should just get that up and and when I'm doing my files, make sure that
Well, your
I've
accountant
got,
can also tell you.
right.
So keep that in mind that, or a bookkeeper, if you have a bookkeeper,
Hmm.
they can tell you as well. Or if your accountant has a bookkeeper, a lot of accountants do. You can contact the bookkeeper and they'll tell you. But all tax related stuff, so pay stubs, W-2s, 1099s, all those things, you have to keep those for 7 years. Just but you should create a folder called 2017 taxes. Like you create the folder at the front of the year. That's ideal.
Hmm.
Now, it doesn't matter. We're in, August right now. And so, you haven't created that file yet. So what? So just create the file called 2017 taxes and put all of your
Oh,
2017 tax related stuff in there.
okay.
And by the way, for
Okay.
receipts, I'm just going to say this in case anyone is interested. I use shoe boxes for receipts. So I have a shoe box that I keep all my receipts in. Um, and I clip them together. So we're just starting August right now. So I clipped all the receipts from July together. I put them in order and I like by date. There weren't that many. And then I clipped them together with a paper clip and those are now in the 2017 tax folder.
Okay.
And then now that it's a small shoebox, it's empty. And so all my receipts are going to go into that shoebox for August. And on the last day of August, I will go in there. I will put them in order. They pretty much are in order because, when you put one receipt in, then you put another, they pile up, right? They're in order.
Yeah.
So they're already pretty much in order because of that. And so then I'll just clip those together and I'll put them again in the 2017 tax file. This is how I handle receipts.
Oh, so at the end of the year, you have 12 little bundles.
That's correct. I have 12 bundles at the end of the year and I'm done. I have nothing else to do.
That's really great.
Yeah. And this is, this is why people go, oh, well, you only have to do it once and you have to do it again. Bullshit. I do this every month. There's something I do every month, and at the end of the year, and I have a folder and all of that. This is not hard stuff to do, but this is stuff people resist doing. I don't know why people resist doing this, because it's so much easier for me. Like in December, when I take my receipts and I bundle them, I've got, like you said, I've got 12 bundles in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. I got nothing else to do, except file the taxes. I'm done.
Right. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Does. So you can try that system if you want to try it.
I'm going to try that system because David will come home with a receipt from getting a bow rehair or whatever. And that's something that we need to save.
Yeah. And you can have I know you've got a little desk in your bedroom now, right?
Yeah.
So you could put the shoebox there.
Right. Uh-huh.
You could put it on the corner of the desk. By the way, it doesn't have to be a shoebox if you want to do something else. If you want to use something else. I tried to use an envelope at one time. That didn't work very well because I thought it was annoying. I didn't want to have to pick it up and put the receipt in and be neat about it. I just want to flip the lid off, throw the receipt in there, put the lid on, and done.
That makes sense.
I don't want to do, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what works for. I just found that the envelope thing got annoying for me. So I decided to do a shoebox, and that changed everything.
Yeah, and this is an example of you try this, see if it works for you. I don't do everything exactly like you do it,
right?
But I started by trying the way that you do it, and then I've tweaked it to work for me and my family and how we roll.
Yeah, not everything I do is going to work for you, but I want to give you a starting point.
Exactly.
That's really all it is I want to give you, and that's what so this whole life management thing, handling your food, handling your schedule. If you're like Tracy and I, I have health issues and I have to manage them by taking supplements. So I got to get my supplements handled. Shopping, same thing. This is another thing that I want to just speak to shopping for a minute because Tracy, I don't know. I don't think you hate shopping. I just think you found it annoying. Is that right?
Yeah. Well,
food shopping.
Yeah, I kind of like food shopping, but I never, but I go there when I want to. I don't know. I just didn't, once I'm there, I don't mind, but usually when I have other things going on, I don't want to stop and go and do that.
Okay.
So the last time I went, I was really resisting because I scheduled it in the middle of the week and, I rather do something else. But then on the way there, I was like,
so this is the rule. The rule is that if you are, and again, this is just life rules, and you have to decide what your life rules are. I go shopping 2 times a week, and so I taught Tracy that going 2 times a week is wise because fresh food. If you go once a week and you buy fresh vegetables, you'll notice that vegetables are not nearly as good on day 6 as they were on day 1 when you bought them.
Exactly.
So that's why I go twice a week because so I go on Saturday, either early in the morning or at night, like 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, or so I go on Saturday at some point, and I also go on Wednesday. I either go early in the morning on Wednesday or I go at night on Wednesday. Lately, it's been early in the morning because I live in Arizona, and it's really hot here. It's 100 degrees by the time it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'll go at 7. As soon as the store opens at 7. But here's the deal about grocery shopping. And the thing that I had to tell Tracy, you have to go shopping and you have to discipline yourself to go shopping even when you don't want to go shopping because running out of food is a bigger problem than going shopping. It's a
Yeah.
bigger problem, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
And so then food prep day is the next day.
right, so she goes shopping on what, Wednesday, right?
Yeah. And I'm still tweaking whether or not I want to go during the day or in the evening. Evening sounds like I might want to do that actually.
Well, here's the challenge with the evening. Let's talk about that. So here's the
Well, I have dinner and
dinner and
bedtime.
bedtime. So, and you cannot,
Yeah.
if you mess up either one of those two, you're going to have a child that does not want to go to bed or is difficult to get to bed.
Yeah, I know.
That's the issue with it. So I think, if you want to go at night, you do have an option, which is you can have, let's say if David is home, if he's not playing a concert, he could put her to bed.
He could go. He could go to the store or he could put
Yes,
her to bed.
exactly.
Either
So
one.
use your
Right.
resources. I mean, if you have other people
Right.
that can help you get things done, then by all means do that. But and that's another thing Tracy learned is that she had to maintain a certain schedule. She has to maintain a certain schedule when her daughter comes home from camp. Otherwise, like if they eat dinner too late, there's going to be an issue that runs into preparing for bedtime.
Mm-hmm.
If you start bedtime too late, there's going to be an issue getting her to bed because she's going to be overtired.
Yeah. And we're still ironing it out because some days she's more tired than others because of the activities she did or whatever. So it's like there's always you can't have everything perfect with a kid because kids are kids
Yeah.
and you don't know what to expect all the time. But I'm realizing that a lot of things. I'm learning a lot of things by doing this. That's all I can say is that it's very educational about how I can handle things. And when something's not working, I come up with a solution instead of just throwing my hands up in the air and going, oh, I don't know, there's nothing I can do about it, which is what I did before. So
Interesting.
that's
Okay. I
why,
didn't know that.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's true. Like last night, bedtime just gets challenging if she's really, really, really tired. And yesterday she went to the pool and she played with friends. And so getting her to do the things that she normally knows how to do by herself. I mean, she still knows how to do them, but like go to the bathroom, brush her teeth. It just takes longer because she's being slow, And so I talked to David about it and we made a new plan.
Oh,
Just that
interesting.
we're just gonna kind of tag team and make things happen faster so that when it's actually time to lay down, it's just like you've done everything you need to do.
I see.
So
Okay.
that's the new plan.
It's good.
So we're just tweaking, like you see what works and you see what doesn't, and then you tweak it.
Yep.
So
Yep. And also,
that's where I am with all
stay
this stuff.
committed to it. This is the other thing. Like what I
Yeah.
told Tracy a while ago was, I mean, because her daughter would do this thing where she didn't want to go to bed, and Tracy would end up being up with her late. Would run into her bedtime, and that's a big deal for Tracy because Tracy meditates in the morning, first thing. And if she doesn't get to bed at a certain time, then meditation starts later, and it might run into, Violet ends up getting up. Like, in other words, Tracy
Yeah.
doesn't get all the meditation in that she wants to get in before
Right.
Violet gets up. That's the issue. And so,
Right.
so if she goes to bed too late, that's what happens. And one of the things I said was, you really have to put yourself first. You have to put your priorities first. You really do. You have to think of yourself first. You cannot care for anybody else if you're not caring for yourself. And that's what a lot of these structures are for. Why do you have to eat when you don't feel like eating? I'll tell you why. Because if you don't eat, you're going to turn into an asshole or you won't be able to get anything done because you can't think. Because food is
exactly.
fuel.
Exactly.
If you don't go to the store when you say you're going to go to the store, that's going to cause a problem for you later. Why? Because you're going to run out of food, or you're going to run out of food you should eat that's better for you.
Right.
That makes you feel
right.
good. And then you're going to end up going and getting McDonald's or some fast food or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a price for every decision that you decide to put off. Everything, when you make an agreement with yourself to do something and then you don't do it, that you're going to pay a price for that.
Yep.
And Tracy figured this out finally. This is really what I think got you on board.
Yeah.
With living this way, with managing your life newly, right?
Yes, 100%.
You started to realize the consequence.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's one more thing that I really want to talk about, but I actually think we should save it for another time.
Oh man, what is it?
Because it's so big, and this has been this is the end of it. But I think it's a whole other topic,
What is it?
actually. Um,
I'm
the
completely like,
man,
what is it? I want to know.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the managing of the people, the managing of the people
Oh,
in your
that's a
life
big one.
on your
Oh,
terms.
100%.
And
Yeah, no, we
so
can do that.
if we start that now, it's going to be like another 45
Yeah, no,
minutes. And it's such a good,
that is a good topic. So yeah, we can do our next fireside on that. We can do our next fireside on people management. So we just
yeah,
did a little fireside
this is
on life
practical.
management. Um,
This is the practical nitty gritty, like emails, websites, tabs,
yeah,
calendars,
yeah,
day to day schedule.
food,
That's practical food.
food,
This is all practical
living
needing.
space. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Living space.
So
So that's
this is
like,
like all the, non-people, non-human things that you have to manage, life management,
yeah. But when you
non-human.
threw that one in,
Hmm.
it was funny because you texted it to me later after we had been talking about something else. No, we were texting and you said something in those texts and you were like, but I got a plan for that. I'm really good at it. And then we texted some more. And then I was walking up to get Violet from her camp and I was like, wait a second, what does that mean?
Oh,
And I
okay. You
texted
mean
you,
about people
remember?
management? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember when I did
Yeah.
that? And then I texted you and you started telling me all these things and I was like, I had like a little brain explosion, like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is amazing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I started implementing it immediately starting now,
Uh-huh.
like when I read those texts,
Yeah.
and it already had a profound impact on my life just from that.
Really?
I mean, it was something that I could do
Yeah.
immediately.
Well, and I'll tell you, everything that I do or everything that I tell people to do it can be implemented immediately. I don't care what it is. Like, and I do it every day. Like, this is not, and what's really fun, what's
Yeah.
really funny about all this is I never thought anything was special about what I do or how I run my life or how I manage people. I never thought it was special because it's just normal to me.
I know, but I always tell you, you're like in the 0.000000001%
Yeah,
of people who do
I
that. Like,
know.
I don't know anyone else who does that.
Uh-huh. And actually, I don't know anyone else who does it either, but I also have never talked to anybody about it. So I don't think I ever thought about it. I don't think I ever thought about whether or not other people did it. This is just what I do because I want my life a certain way and
Hmm.
because I have goals. Honestly, that was really why I started behaving a certain way about it because I was like, well, I'm not going to get what I want if I don't get all this stuff handled. My
Yeah.
life and then the people in it, both. That's really where it came from. And so that's the world I live in. So yeah, we can talk
Yep.
about people management. Absolutely. There's a whole design behind that. There's a whole
That's,
design behind that. And I only gave you a little piece of it.
oh, really?
Oh yeah, there's more.
Ooh, okay. I'm excited about
Yeah, there's
that.
more. Oh yeah, I only gave you just that little piece of it because I'm leaving on a trip and I have to go spend time with family and there's a whole way that I manage that. There's a whole, because you know how people do the whole eye roll. Oh my God, I have to go spend time with my family. And I
Yeah.
have a whole system about how I deal with that. It's just so that it doesn't annoy me. Because people, yeah, they can be annoying, but
Hmm.
they're only annoying when you don't manage them, when you don't control them.
Yeah.
So there's a way to do that. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
Okay, that's
It
good.
really is true. Your life can get in the way and people can get in the way of all the things that you want to do, whatever
Hmm.
goals you have for yourself. So you have to learn how to manage both if you want to be successful.
Totally.
So cool. So I look forward to talking about
Yeah.
that with you.
Yeah, let's do it on the next one. And so thank you for listening today. If you're liking what you're hearing, if you're loving it, reach out and tell us about it.
Yeah.
Tell
If you
us
have
on
questions
a
about
message.
anything, like if there's anything I can clarify for you, please, post in Classical Cats. Like you
Yeah.
can start a discussion in Classical Cats. That's a Facebook group that we have. Feel free to, post in there, ask questions about anything you've heard today. I can get a little more detailed with you if there's something you have a question about. I have systems for everything. There really isn't anything you could ask me about that I don't have a system for, I don't think. I don't have children, but that doesn't mean, what's interesting about me is even though I don't have children, I absolutely know how to handle anything with a human being.
Yeah, it doesn't
It
matter how
doesn't
old they
matter what
are.
it does. It
So
has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with how I think about setting things up and systems and
seriously,
processes. That's just how I think.
seriously. And you've given me great advice on things that I've dealt with Violet just in a discussion, because even though she's 7, she's still a
Yeah,
human with a
yeah,
concern. And so it
yeah.
helped a lot.
The age
So
makes
yeah,
no difference. It's still a human. It doesn't make any difference how old they are. They're a
yeah,
spirit in a
yeah,
little body. We're spirits in
yeah,
bigger bodies. We're still all spirits. Doesn't make any difference.
right.
So,
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you. And we'll see you next time. Oh, and join the conversation on Facebook.com/crushing classical and Instagram. And we'll see you next time.
okay. Bye.
Bye.